Hi folks, this is Paul. Welcome to my Paul Flies YouTube channel. I have an interesting flight for you today. I flew a Cirrus SR-22 from Laconia, New Hampshire to Rockland, Maine. The purpose of the flight was to visit the Owl's Head Transportation Museum, which is adjacent to the airport. It was a hot, beautiful VFR day with some convective activity to the north, but well out of our flight path. This is the day the New Hampshire Speedway is having its annual NASCAR Cup race, and Laconia is one of the closest airports to the track, so expect heavier than normal traffic for a weekend morning. In fact, ATC has implemented flow control procedures for after 12 p.m., but that won't be an issue for us as we're leaving earlier. I've decided to split this flight into two videos, one for the takeoff from Laconia and the other for the arrival into Maine. I mentioned this was an interesting flight, and the action happened on departure. Laconia is an uncontrolled airfield, which means there is no controller in a tower to sequence landing or departing aircraft. In an uncontrolled airport, it's up to pilots to assure that their airplanes don't run into one another. To accomplish this, pilots use standardized traffic patterns and rules for departure and arrival. Pilots communicate with one another via radio, and typically the process works very well. It's not perfect though. Pilots are not required to talk on the radio, and some airplanes are not equipped with radios. So the most important method to avoid other aircraft is to be constantly looking outside the airplane for other traffic. At this point, I'm going to stop talking and let you watch the departure unfold real time. Then I'll run through the departure again, pausing to let you know what I was thinking and where I can improve my performance when a situation like this arises again. Laconia traffic, Cirrus, about to depart 26, will be a left downwind departure to the east, Laconia.
Laconia traffic, Skyhawk 97055, departing 26, turning to the north, way into the Cirrus, get a little further out, Laconia.
Laconia, beach at 5,000, descending inbound from the southwest, entering a downwind runway 26 from Laconia.
Laconia traffic, Cirrus just departed 26, we'll be turning left crosswind and doing a left downwind departure to the east. Caps available.
600.
Laconia traffic, Cirrus turning left downwind, left crosswind 26, Laconia.
Cirrus Laconia turning left crosswind. You have a midjet that's currently entering on the left downwind, trying to look for you, but no choice for now. And we are descending through 4,000.
Okay, and Cirrus is at 1600 right now, turning left downwind, Laconia. Close.
And Laconia, be sure. See,
1
how's
mile.
upland traffic in sight? Appear to be overtaking the Cirrus on the, out to the right here for Laconia.
Laconia, I'm going to do a little non-standard here. I'm going to depart over the field. I have the Cessna just taken off. I'll try and get out of your way, Laconia.
And we'll get Cirrus in sight. Thank you for the help, sir. Laconia. Midfield downwind, runway 26, Laconia.
Laconia traffic side 97055, turning north over the lake. Having departed 26, Laconia.
Laconia traffic, Cirrus is at 2,300 feet. Should be a factor for that traffic coming in Laconia. And there you have it. Potential conflict over. I'm working my way back on course now and climbing to my final altitude of 5,500 feet for this flight. So what happened? In a nutshell, a much faster jet and my airplane were destined to occupy the same airspace at the same time, and that wouldn't have been good. We both made adjustments to avoid that possibility. As with any incident, or in this case a potential incident, there's usually a chain or series of events that precede it. So let's start back on the ground, and I'll pause the video to let you know what I remember thinking at each critical point. The takeoff process actually starts when I'm taxiing to the runway. I'm listening to the radio to get an idea as to what's going on in the airspace above me. The radio was quiet, so I was pretty comfortable that I would be alone on takeoff. Because I knew there might be a lot of traffic today, I had considered giving ATC a call on the ground. Laconia has a remote communications outlet, RCO, that connects you directly to Flight Surface or Air Traffic Control. Generally, this is used for picking up IFR clearances, and as a VFR flight, you would need to talk to ATC. But I had toyed with the idea of asking for a flight following transponder code on the ground and asking if there was any traffic inbound. Unfortunately, while I was taxiing, another aircraft began taxiing behind me. Calling ATC at that point would have delayed me a few minutes, and the guy behind me would have been stuck waiting for me. So I decided not to call. Not really a big deal, as I wasn't sure if ATC would have helped me anyway. Plus, you generally don't talk to ATC until you're clear of the airport area. I've since reached out to some controllers via Facebook to ask if contacting them via the RCO for a VFR flight following code was okay to do. Some responded that the flight following code may or may not have happened, but they most likely would have given me a heads up about the inbound jet. This particular RCO connects directly to the controls in charge of this area. Not all do. But in this case, a couple of the controllers responded on Facebook and said the controller working the RCO would have had a scope in front of them and most likely would have given me a heads up about the inbound traffic. Something new I learned. So let's step through the departure and I'll tell you what I was thinking and where I got it wrong. As you watch, you'll see me set takeoff power, accelerate to rotation speed, then rotate. After rotating, I accelerate to 90 knots, set the flaps to 0, then accelerate to 104 knots, which is my best climb speed. I typically fly this speed until I'm 600 feet above ground level, the altitude where the parachute is available, God forbid I ever need it. Above 600 feet, I will generally begin any turns I need to do and let the airplane accelerate to 120 knots, which is almost 140 miles per hour. At this speed, the nose is lower, allowing me to see what is in front of the airplane better, and allows more air to flow over the engine, which keeps it cool.
Laconia traffic side 97055, departing 26, turning to the north, wait for the Cirrus, get a little further out, Laconia.
Laconia, be 5,000 descending inbound from the southwest, entering a downwind runway 26 for Laconia.
Laconia traffic, Cirrus just departed 26. We'll be turning left crosswind and doing a left downwind departure to the east. Caps available. Just as I took off, you heard the airplane behind me announce that he was going to take off. Immediately after he called, the jet announced that he was inbound for Laconia from the southwest, which is to my left, at 5,000 feet for a left downwind arrival. This is where my issues began. First, there was a little problem with the jet's announcement. He told me what he was, a jet, where he was, southwest of me, his altitude 5,000 feet. What he didn't tell me was how far away from the field he was, which is really pretty important information. Lacking that information, I guessed as to where he was, and it turns out I guessed wrong. This is the first link in that accident chain I spoke briefly about earlier. If you get enough unbroken links in that chain, you have a problem. The goal as a pilot, my goal, is to break those links, not build them. Here's my mistake. He reported that he was 5,000 feet. He needed to lose 3,000 feet before he was at pattern altitude. From this, I surmised he was about 10 miles or more away. He didn't show up on my traffic screen, so I thought I was good. What I should have done is asked him where he was and how fast he was going. Again, this was my mistake. I'm not radio shy. I have no problem talking to people over the radio. And although sometimes my brain works faster than my mouth, the radio doesn't bother me. I figured he didn't know I was there, though. He had probably flown in on an instrument flight plan and had just switched from the ATC frequency to the airport frequency. I don't think he heard me announce that I was departing, so I announced again where I was and what my plan was. I made that announcement specifically for him so he would know what I was doing. Again, my failure was not asking him his location. Had I found out that he was closer than I thought and descending much faster than I thought, I would have realized I would be a conflict for him. Now, technically, I was in the pattern, so I probably had the right of way since he was approaching the pattern. But had I known how fast he was coming in, I simply would have flown the extended runway center line, let him pass, then turned in behind him. That isn't what I did, though. The next transmission I heard, but did not understand at the time. I didn't think it was for me. I've listened to it again, and the message was perfectly clear without the noise of the engine and the prop. If you notice, there was an avionics announcement that blocked part of the transmission also, and the gentleman had an accent, so I missed what he was telling me. Here it is.
600.
Deporting Laconia, still on the upwind leg.
Let's try listening to that again without the engine and prop noise.
600.
Deporting Laconia, still on the upwind leg.
And it was not the original jet pilot I had heard previously. So I announced my turn to crosswind. This pointed me directly to the path of the jet. And this is another link in that accident chain I was talking about.
Laconia traffic, Cirrus turning left downwind, left crosswind 26, Laconia.
And Cirrus Laconia turning left crosswind. You have a midjet that's currently entering on the left downwind. We're trying to look for you, but no choice for now. And we are descending through 4,000.
With that announcement, I realized the situation's getting more and more urgent. These guys are traveling much faster than I thought. They're at 3,000 feet. I'm at about 1,600 feet, so they're still well above me, but they're coming down fast and they're coming in hot. I decided to take a look at my traffic screen and see if I can locate them on that, since they are now behind me and to the right.
Okay, and Cirrus is at 1,600 right now, turning left downwind Laconia.
So there it was, the final moment of realization that my plan wasn't going to work as I had intended. I needed to get off this downwind leg, so I continued my turn. I was turning from crosswind to downwind at that point, and I decided that I was just going to overfly the airport and get out of this guy's way.
And Laconia, basically 3,000 feet, has upwind traffic in sight. Appear to be overtaking the Cirrus on the, out to the right here for Laconia.
Laconia, I'm going to do a little non-standard here. I'm gonna depart over the field. I have the Cessna just taken off. I'll try and get out of your way, Laconia.
And we'll get Cirrus and South. Thank you for the help, sir. Laconia. Midfield downwind, runway 26, Laconia.
With that transmission, the potential incident was resolved. I turned back over the runway as I had planned, out of his way, and he continued on his downwind and landed. I continued on from this point for an uneventful flight to Rockland, Maine. I'll show that approach and landing in my next video. Most of the time these videos are fun to go back through and watch for me. Occasionally they're a little painful like this one. It's interesting to note that from the start of the issue to the resolution, it took about 2 minutes. That's really not that long of a period of time. In that time, the jet descended from 5,000 feet to about 2,000 feet, and it covered at least 6 miles, probably more. I tried to look up the jet on Flight Radar 24, where I would have been able to see his exact location and route, but the tail number was blocked. I've removed the tail number from my recordings as I figured I'd respect the owner's desire for privacy. I learned a lot from this experience. Honestly, there's nothing new here. It just reinforces that while flying, it's not a good idea to guess when you could simply ask. I could have asked. Had I done that, it would have made it instantly clear to me to stay on the upwind and let this guy go by. I thought I had plenty of time, and I was wrong. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll be doing more videos in the future. I decided to spare no expense here, and I did a little animation just to show where the event happened and where I was flying, and the estimated route of me and the jet pilot. So I hope you enjoy it, and take care. Thanks for watching.